Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a big one. How do you actually find a meaningful, clear path in a world that feels so noisy? Well, we're going to break down a really powerful blueprint that helps you move from that feeling of confusion to real clarity. So here's our game plan for today. We're going to take a 5-part journey. We'll start by talking about that feeling of being lost. Then we'll get into a massive perspective shift called Allah's 4 invitations. After that, we'll lay out a practical blueprint for success, explore how to deepen your connection with God, and finally, wrap it all up by talking about how to build a legacy that lasts. I mean, seriously, have you ever felt like you're just drifting? Navigating all the stress and the endless distractions of modern life? If you have, you are definitely not alone. The sources we're digging into today really get this feeling, but more importantly, they offer a clear way forward. So let's start by just acknowledging the challenge we're all up against. Okay, section 1. This is all about that shared challenge, that feeling of being overwhelmed and maybe even a little spiritually disconnected in this crazy, fast-paced world we live in. And these are the usual suspects, right? The sources point to things we can all relate to. You've got financial stress, that constant mental fog, the phone buzzing every 2 seconds, not to mention family and work drama. It feels like we're just trying to keep our heads above water, and sometimes we just reach for another distraction to cope. It's a vicious cycle. And this quote from the Quran, wow, it just cuts right to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? It perfectly describes how easily our focus can get pulled away from what really matters and onto all these worldly distractions, leaving us feeling kind of empty. But what if we're looking at all these struggles the wrong way? What if they're not punishments? What if there's something else entirely? This next section is all about a powerful perspective shift, seeing life's challenges not as roadblocks, but as invitations. So the material we're looking at frames this concept of dawah as a series of calls from a Lord who is compassionate and caring. It's not about being punished or pushed away. It's about being lovingly guided back to Him, especially when we've lost our way. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how this guidance escalates. It starts super gently, with free reminders. Like a video that pops up on your feed, right when you needed to hear that message. If that gets ignored, a problem might show up, sort of like a learning curve. And if you still drift, a bigger hardship might come your way, one you just can't ignore. And this verse, it gets right to the heart of that 3rd stage. These big hardships aren't there to break you. They are a form of mercy, designed with a specific hope that you'll turn back and reconnect. It's a tough intervention, for sure, but it comes from a place of love. So here's the kicker. The final and most feared stage isn't some dramatic, fiery punishment. It's silence. It's being left to your own devices, which means you're no longer being called back. And that, according to our sources, is the real catastrophe. Okay, so we've reframed how we look at challenges. Now let's get practical. How do we actually combine this deep inner faith with strategic, real-world action? Let's dive into the blueprint for success. The sources make it super clear that there's a critical balance to strike. You can't be on either extreme. On one side, you have just praying and hoping for the best without doing any work. That's negligence. But on the other side, you've got grinding away without any trust in a higher power, and that's arrogance. The magic happens right in the middle. And here's the formula. Your faith is what fuels your mindset, giving you that resilience to keep going. Action is actually considered a part of the prophetic practice, turning your everyday work into something meaningful. Discipline, well, that's what gets you to actually do the work instead of making excuses. Then you have this killer combo, meticulous planning, tadabbur, paired with complete trust in God for the outcome, tawakkul. And finally, you work to become financially independent so you can have more freedom and a greater ability to help others. This famous saying, it sums up that whole principle perfectly. You do your part. You take every practical, logical step you can. You tie up your camel so it can't run away. Then, and only then, do you place your full trust in God for the result. So, what this all boils down to is accountability. A truly successful person, according to one of our sources, takes total ownership of their life. No blaming your circumstances, no blaming other people. Real personal growth, a real meaningful life, it all starts the moment the excuses stop. All right, once you've got that practical foundation of faith and action humming along, we can take things to a whole new level. Let's talk about how you can transform your connection with God from just checking boxes of obedience to a relationship built on genuine, heartfelt love. So the path starts with the basics, right? the non-negotiables, the things you have to do and the things you have to avoid. But the journey really gets exciting when you start adding the extras, the voluntary prayers, the extra acts of kindness, even just giving a stranger a smile. It's those small, consistent actions that build a bridge to a truly loving relationship. And this is the ultimate goal. It stops being about a to-do list. It's about cultivating a relationship so deep and so personal that you feel like your creator is your best friend, someone you can pour your heart out to anytime about anything with no filter. This sacred hadith is just profound. It describes the state you can reach, where you're so aligned, so in sync, that your actions, your words, what you see and hear, it's all guided by that divine connection. And it all stems from that foundation of love. So when you've built this incredibly strong internal and external framework, what's the final step? It's to think beyond yourself. Let's wrap this up by expanding our focus and thinking about the lasting, positive impact we can create in the world. Legacy thinking, as our sources put it, isn't about getting famous or rich. It's about asking yourself a really simple but powerful question. How will the things I do today contribute to some greater good that will outlive me? And your legacy isn't just one big, grand thing. It's a collection of positive contributions that create ripples long after you're gone. It could be the knowledge you share that helps someone else succeed, the children you raise to be a force for good, or even just making sure your family is secure enough to thrive for generations to come. So, here's the main insight. True, lasting success isn't just about what you accomplish for yourself. It's this powerful combination of making a real, tangible, positive impact on the world while also staying true to your spiritual compass. It's about living a life that is both deeply meaningful and incredibly impactful. And so, we'll leave you with this thought. You now have this blueprint, a way to reframe your struggles, to balance faith with action, and to build a legacy. You have the power to stop drifting. You can choose to start writing a new story for your life, a story of purpose, of clarity, and of lasting impact. The only question is, what story will you choose to tell?